Alright, so I thought I'd make a video on this boat. I just about finished the, I have, as you can see, this is one splice I just got to do. And I got to get one of these strips, sand one of them down just enough, and then squeeze it and fit it right into there. And then I've completed with this side. And then I have to do this. So if you know what I'm talking about, as you can see right here, I had a lot of trouble sort of bending the piece of wood. It's like a miniature land of a 2x4 to try to bend it. And you usually can use water, like dip it in water, and then use an iron method, which gives the ability for the wood to curl. But depending on how the skeleton sections or how well they're sanded off will also determine how smooth it is, because you're supposed to smooth it, but I've had a lot of difficulty in sort of trying to how to sand that down so it's all evenly and not do it too much. But you know, you've seen some of my boats. As you can see, I had to get to this point and then I had to break it and then put another piece there, and then what I do is I just drill a hole in there, drill a hole in there, drill a hole, and then I apply glue so it still has strength. It's just sort of just the method that happens to work. You won't see that anyway. But what you will see is the fact that the curve isn't all that smooth. As you can see, this is, you see how this has a turn to it. It has a slight curve. Then it starts to curve a lot. Well, the wood tends to not want to curve, and it just breaks on you. I had a lot. It took me like 4 boats to 5. It took me like 5 boats to finally figure out that you can dip the wood in water, because I didn't know how they were doing it. But anyway, so I'm putting this brown planking on here, and I got the same problem as well. So that I can't do anything about. But you can see my workmanship, where I'm actually got most of it, and then once I got to about mid to toward the end, it started to curl on me, and it started to crack. And these thin strips are very, very thin, so you really can't. You don't have too much give. The give is a little bit different than the thick wood, because when the thick wood cracks, I mean, that's it. So, but it has a weird bend to it that you don't get with the 2x4s, the miniature, the wood strips. But so what I have to do is, and I don't know if you can see that real clearly, is I strip, and then I just start splicing. So if I do it correctly, I'll be able to go from start to finish, and then it all goes accordingly. And then once I get to about right in this section is when I have to start splicing, and I just splice and glue, and I'm finished, and it's real smooth. But if the strips aren't directly straight, then when I finally get to some of these sections, then that's whenever I start having to come into a lot of complications to it. But I still managed to get a lot of this pretty good. There's a lot of to be said in this. Is like, for an example, some of the skill measurements that people don't see is the way that I do this. Is I do this by eyesight. Most of the people that build these boats are like professionals. They're really good. They're like perfect measurements. So I'm able to do it by eyesight. So what I do is I get a saw. I over measure this so it goes over this. I don't know what they call this front part that goes to the very, very bottom of the boat. And this is kind of like the last part of the skeleton, the spinal skeleton of the boat. And I'll add this, and then I overlap it just a little bit. And so when it looks real nasty, and so what I do is I just finished it. But what I do is I get the saw, a little miniature saw, and I slice it literally by eyesight, giving it that curve. And there you go. You got a nice curve. But it's not finished. Obviously, you can see the mess of glue. So obviously I'll probably go over it with some more glue so that it has the shine and everything kind of looks the same. But what I'll probably do is I'll probably add some gel glue, which is a kind of a real thick kind of putty, not putty, but they have like a ultra gel, and then they have a gel, and then they have like a liquid. So I use the gel glue, and I'll set some glue inside that crack, so when it dries, it looks connected to this, and it doesn't look like, it doesn't give that illusion so much of what you see right here, because it does leave a little bit gap. It could be preference. I suppose that I could leave it like that, but I probably just kind of, for me, my preference is probably add a little bit of glue, so that it has more stability, it has more strength to it, and I think it adds, some. But that's the difference. That there's so much detail. See, if I didn't add that glue, then it looks like, you got to imagine, like, okay, so what's the difference between this kind of stuff, the toys that or these toys and these models? These aren't really toys that you can really play with like little kids, because there's glue on them and they're real delicate. They break very easy. But they're great for kids. If you don't care for building them and then breaking them apart, they go for it. But what's the difference between this and the stuff that you buy at a store? So when you go to Toys R Us, when you go to these and you buy these sort of makeshift toys, they have these, to my understanding, it's a cast. And they make a cast of all these tiny parts, and then they have an assembly line, and it looks like a masterpiece. You could spend $500-$600, you spend $700, $200 or $300. You're like, wow, somebody built this and they sell thousands of them. Well, there's so much into this because it's signaturely made by me, and it has my own touches to it. So anyway, I thought I'd just kind of make a video on this. It gets pretty fun. But the thing that also bothers me is the thing that bothers me is also when I'm making these, I tend to get glue on my fingers a lot, and then it literally rips the skin off my fingers. So a lot of this has my DNA, but the idea of this is the glue sticks and piles up on my hand and dust over a period of time, and then it feels like my skin, and it may not be my skin, but you'll see like little white kind of crinkle jelly looking dry spots, and that's actually just glue. So what I have to do usually to kind of blend that in is usually sand that down, and I can't really sand any of this down. This brown stuff, I can't sand it down because it's so thin, and once you sand any of it down, you can't really fix it. If you sand any of this down too much and it goes down to this part, you can't fix it. It really messes it up. So anyway, as you can see, like right here, you'll see these little kind of. So I'll probably buy some more liquid glue, and it gives it a shine. That's the only thing. Also, is that you see this wood. You see it kind of looks real dry. It looks ancient. It does. But when you see the glue, when you see how like it's real shiny, like I had to add a significant amount of glue here, but I didn't add all over it. It adds a shine. It looks decorative. When I went to the Washington, D.C. museum to look at the boats, it looked like to me that they had the same way. They added a bunch of glue, which is really preserved. It really is. A lot of even when you look on the websites and museums, on YouTube videos where people go to, it looks like it's built like that to preserve it, and that's what you're doing. But for me, preferentially, I do like kind of like a little bit of that dry sort of look. You can right there because it looks more real. The idea of it, you can go into so much details of it. Like this back part, I could add the same strips, but for artists and painters and all that stuff that are really, really good, I'm not an artist of like any kind that can paint. I just follow the instructions and kind of add my own little bit of touches here and there. They can add to what this may look like on a real boat. On a real boat, you have accumulation of moss, you have accumulation of sort of these things and these touches that you can add to give the boat to more realistic. So if I were to add this brown planking on here, it does add the foundation that this is all brown from the top to the bottom because it sinks into the water, right? But it, so I don't know yet, and but I figured, I still got plenty to do, and like I said, you have to add all the parts, and but like I said, I don't know, I may go a little more drastic on there, but it's a whole nother step. Like I said, I've already finished the mast, the foremast, the stern. I believe this is called the stern, and they usually sometimes have them in the back. Sometimes it's the real biggest one only has 2, but then there's 3. Once that's placed on there, then you have the strings. The strings are like, very difficult and tedious. It's like building the whole boat all over again. So you got the whole front part of the boat, and then that's the whole, because you have to bring all these strings to give the illusion of a rope. And they have these certain types of rope methods they do on boats. I don't know what they call them. There's a certain name for it, like a hanky or a hank or something like that. It's a certain type of way that they make loops, I guess. There's a couple of different names, and I haven't learned them. So you make these to give the illusion to what they do on the boats, right? Because you don't want people tripping over them or whatnot, and you have to have slack to make sure you catch the wind, and so you can grasp the wind and kind of feed you into the direction you're supposed to go going for all the sailors and all that other stuff. So anyway, I feel like somebody just shocked me, But anyway, like I said. In this particular, I still have quite a bit to do. I didn't. You're supposed to put like 2 of these big strips on there. I didn't, just because the instructions, they messed all the instructions up and they re-switched them out, and I have to go to what the base, a pretty basic of the boat is. And I'm going to have to be creative, but it's an Albatros, and I'm probably going to add maybe some major touches to it. I haven't figured out. It may be at the last minute where I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and order 3 or 4 more items to place on here, or may not at all. And who knows? May add a jukebox. I don't even know, but it's really great. It still gives the idea that this is the Albatros boat, and you will understand that. But it's still, to me, it's still a custom-made boat from me. So that's the idea of it. When I give these boats, they're not the idea of just like, this is the official boat. It's also because it's a boat personally, so it adds my own touches from the directions from what I'm getting. Obviously, I'd eventually really love to build something that is precise, even if it has a little bit of some screw ups here and there like this. I'd like to be able to have one of these ships, like the Flying Dutchman or something, that's from top to bottom, exactly like the instructions, all the strings, because that's really difficult. The closest I got was the one that says the Believe boat, which is the Polaris. And the only difference is there was a couple strings, and then I didn't add the markers of the wood, which when you get a pencil and you measure out the woods and you just draw little lines, it gives the illusion that it's 2x4s that the people are going to be walking on, right? Like you do on a real boat. But there's so much craftsmanship. It may look kind of easy. You'd be really surprised for those, if you ever have the chance to build. This is supposed to be a beginner ship. But if you ever have the chance, you'll know what I'm talking about, on how much effort it takes to build one of these, what it really takes. But I'd like to build, there's so many of them, I'd like to build like 100 if I could, but, I don't think that's going to really happen. But like I said, the Flying Dutchman and like has lights in it, and it's already pre-cracked inside the boat, and you have the actual visuals that you can see of what the inside of a boat looks like, of a ship. Now, when I went to the DMC competition and I went to London, I got to go to the Sharky, and the Sharky was like known as one of the fastest boats in the world. The fastest at like, I don't even know what, 60, 70 knots or whatever that is. But it was the fastest boat that could travel. You could put all these loads of goods on there, and it can get to any place split like lightning fast, twice as fast as any other boat in the world. It's massive. And I went on this boat, and I got to walk through there and look at all these, and it's amazing. It's beautiful. And I got into this side of this boat, and I remember seeing this glass boat. I remember seeing this glass bottle, and I remember looking at this, and it was just like, wow, it was just so magical. But anyway, it gives you the ideas of what these boats would have been like. The curves that they have in the interior, how the people would have lived. There's a lot of history to these boats. That whatever, some good, a lot of bad. Adventurous, dangerous, because when your boat sinks, there's nothing for you to land on. There's no hope. You're in the middle of the ocean, and you're left to nothing but predators. It's a little bit easier on land, but water, you're in big trouble. But anyway, like I said, building these, and it's always entertaining and fun. I should have already completed. I should be probably completing this by the next 5 to 7 days if I was on schedule, but I'm not going to finish this until at least the end of the month. So it took me, when it took me, when it should take me about 1 month to complete this, and that's just sort of kicking back a little bit. Now it's going to take me 2 months, but we'll see how this looks like. But as you can see, I had to drill a hole in here. And in this hole, see, like I got to build this. This is very dense wood. So I have to pre-drill the holes. And I don't know if you can see that, but those nails, I have to actually cut the nails, place them in there. I have to pre-drill the holes, and I have to put these metal clamps on there, and I have to hold it and pry it on there. I have to hold it and pry it on there. I have to drill the holes, squeeze it in, because I also have to put more of these little clamps in here, so it's going to be the back fender of what steers the boat from left to right, or gives it some guidance. So if you can see right there, obviously, because I didn't build this correctly, so what I did is I set this in here, and so then you have the beautiful brown that goes over it, so it doesn't look so jacked up. It does going to look a little kind of weird a little bit to it, but you're going to get the whole idea of it. So, I'm building this, clamp this down, and once this is inserted here, I finish off the planking, and then I'm able to smooth it out, add the glue, and we'll see how this looks like when the whole base of the boat is finished. And I'm almost done. I got to finish this part. And I'll let y'all know what this looks like once I finish the bottom base and set these masts on there. And for those that don't know, like, I also got to build these by hand. These little things here are little pieces of wood. You have to cut little strips, cut little strip, cut little strip, cut little strip. You have to cut this interior. There's a block of wood, and it already comes like this. And it comes in a strip. You cut it into 3 pieces, 1, 2, and 3. You put these already metal slabs on there. You have to glue it, and then you have to give it a foundation. So this just takes quite a bit of work. You'd be surprised. This right here is a cannon. Cannon's piece of metal is already there. I have to pre-cut these metal rods that hold the tires together, put the tires on there, glue the tires, and I also have to make You see this wood right here, the actual wood? There's 3 panels. 1, 2, and then 3. And then I have to put the wood panels together, glue them. Once that's dry, you turn it around, and I have to cut the rods, and then I have to put these little circles that give it the wheel. When that's dry, then I add this, and then you got to can it. So that's, kind of what that is. And like this right here, I got to make this by hand as well. So, I got to cut this, I got to cut a little piece on here, and each one of these are one single dividers, and I have to, they already come pre-drilled, and I've had to put like 10 of them in a row, and then 10 of them in a row this way, and then a 10 in a row this way, and they sort of just fall right into place. And then I cut the size I want or need, and then I put the 2x4s, and it's quite a bit of work. You'd be surprised on really what that is. And as well as this right here, I have to get these little nails. I have to get these little ring nail looking deals. Cut them, pre-drill it, put a little ring on there. But before I put those little rings on there, I have to get the block of wood. I have to put the shingles, not the shingles, but the planking on there. Give it that nice brown look. Give that some foundation 2x4s, right? Like if you were living in the miniature world. And then you have to put these right here. These 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you place this on a boat, it makes it kind of look like, there's something that's going on inside the boat, like it would back then, right? You got your slaves, you got your workers, you got your Vikings, you got your pirates. I don't know, you choose. But since they did not add these items, they didn't put all the items on the material that I paid for. These right here, these are supposed to go on the side. They already come pre-drilled. They already come pre-cut, and all you got to do is just place them and put glue on there, and then you got to put some items on there. But I had to cut this by hand, the entire thing, measure this out, so it's going to look weird already. So I had to cut this out, and I had to put this in here, and then I'm going to have to put the beads so that when the strings come down to meet the base of the boat, it'll give the illusion of the boat. It holds the mast, the front and main mast in place. But obviously, I'm kind of really eager to build like a full one from top to bottom that is like exact, like just all the strings exactly as perfect, because you really get a sense of what the whole boat is. On most of all the boats that I built, they're all as instructed. I added a couple of items, but the ones with the strings are the most difficult ones. But like I said, the Polaris is the closest one that I've gotten, and that's still considered a beginner boat. But you realize, it took me 200 hours to finish that boat. It's estimated 120 hours. This boat here is estimated 140 hours. It's taken me way much more longer than that. Now, given the idea that the professionals are building these boats, and they're probably sitting there with a timer, and they just like push a timer when they finish something, they push a timer when they finish something, and when they start working on it, they're already professionals, and they slowly go at a very easy pace. That's why it's 120 hours. For me, since the idea that the instructions and all the chaos is going on, and I'm not a professional, it takes me at least 200 hours to complete this. And so the last boat's 200 hours, so this is probably going to take me like 220 hours. You always got like 50, 60 hours extra, because I always have to go over a lot of shit and go over this a whole bunch of times. But like I said, I think it always looks great. It always looks great. But I got quite a bit, and we'll see how this turns out. And a lot of the times too is I don't know how this will turn out until I finish. So when I get the glue, if I put, go decide to put more glue on here just to kind of close this gap off a little bit, I don't know if it's going to be actually that much better. But that's going to give you the idea of it, is you won't know until it's dry, but you can't ever take that glue off. It's just there forever. So, anyway, as you can see, I don't know if I'm going to add the shine to it. I noticed that I don't know if they apply the shiny glue to it, and I don't know if that's even glue, but I did it to some of the boats that I did to help preserve it, because when you put that extra coat of glue on the outside of it, you still get the purpose and look to it, and it's really preserved, and it has a coat of protection. But for me, I don't know, I like this sort of dry look to it. I do. I like it, but I can't ever get it to do that because too much of this is I have to spin glue to kind of hold it together. It's very difficult. Those are probably like the precise accuracy of some of these people. But anyway, like I said, I think I'm probably going to have to order some more items to maybe place on this boat. Still got lots of work on it. I'm, barely not even halfway done with this. So hopefully by the end of the month, it'll be completed.